Like a lot of us, when I first started training, my main focus when it came to nutrition was getting enough protein and eating clean. So trying to eat a lot of rice and vegetables. However, having trained for, over a decade now, here are a few things that I've learned about nutrition and making the most of those sessions, especially when we are hybrid athletes, CrossFit athletes, and those sessions that we're hitting are quite intense. These are 3 really straightforward hacks that you can implement to help improve your performance in those sessions and just make sure you're able to give it maximal effort and give your body the energy that it needs. Now, having lived in Abu Dhabi for 2.5 years and being in that very, very warm environment, electrolytes are one of the key things that I implement every single day. I don't have a specific time to take mine. I tend to take them in the morning just to make sure that I'm getting them in. But there's something that I really find helpful to keep me hydrated and to keep everything topped up. With your electrolytes, you're going to be topping up your sodium, potassium, magnesium, potentially a couple of other things, and that just gives you everything that you kind of need to keep your hydration levels high when we're training, when we're doing longer intervals, if you're doing longer runs. The first time I really started implementing this was when I was training for a half marathon at the start of the year, and doing these runs in those conditions meant that I was getting dehydrated very fast. So it's just a habit that I picked up and have continued to implement even when I'm not specifically training for a half marathon. Now, going into sessions, I always try and time my meals around my training, but something that I wasn't doing was having a pre-workout snack. I always kind of would go between maybe just having a banana or maybe even a chocolate bar just to get a sugar boost. But what I started doing was having a little bit more of a substantial mini meal before I'd go in. I like to use bagels with honey to get those kind of slower release carbs in that are going to impact me during my session, as well as a little bit of sugar and quick carbs that is going to give me a little bit of a boost. I would try and time these somewhere between 40 to 30 minutes before I was going into train. It also kind of gave me a little bit of a mental switch knowing that, right, this is my mini meal before I go and train, let's get this in, and then I can start to think about the training session that's ahead. It also obviously gives you that energy, gives you a little bit more of a boost before you go in and you do your session. Now, working with a nutrition coach for the first half of this year, this was something that really impacted my training in a positive way, and that is intra-workout carbs. There are a few different forms that you can get. You can get them in a powder. I did have this when I was out in Abu Dhabi. I've currently got them in a pouch. I don't have a caffeine version because I take caffeine before I train, but there are some of those options available. Now, why we use these, especially with the kind of training that we're doing. We're going to be doing longer sessions with more intensity. If we're training in the gym for over an hour and maybe we're performing multiple metcons and different workouts, getting a boost of carbs that is easily digestible and can give you a bit of an energy boost is massively going to improve your performance. We're not going to start flagging, and we're going to be able to keep up that intensity for that longer duration. So find what works for you. If gels don't sit well in your stomach, then maybe try the powder. But it's definitely something that I would recommend if we're training for in that hour to 2 hour mark and we're training with a little bit of intensity. So those are my 3 mini nutrition hacks for those of you that are doing hybrid, CrossFit, longer intensity training. Getting those little things into play is going to massively impact your training, but it might take a little bit of testing to see what works for you, especially things like those carb gels, the pre-workout meal, finding what sits right in your stomach and doesn't kind of leave you feeling a bit heavier or potentially even feeling a bit sick. Might take a little bit of trial and error, but it's definitely something that will be worth it in the long run if you can make it part of your routine and part of your training. If you've got any nutrition hacks that you use at the moment to help keep your training levels high, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video. If there's anything specific you'd like to see from this channel, please let me know as well. Otherwise, hit that subscribe button and I'll see you later on.